Welcome back to Velvet Moments. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful moments are rarely the loud ones? Not the ones announced in advance. Not the ones framed perfectly for the world to see. But the quiet ones. The moments that slip by unnoticed. Until they settle softly in your chest and refuse to leave. At Velvet Moments we don't chase noise. We listen to what's unspoken. We linger in the pauses, the glances, the silences that say more than words ever could. Tonight we're not here for headlines. We're here for the details. The choices made quietly. The presence that doesn't ask to be seen, yet somehow changes everything. So take a breath. Slow down. And let's step into a moment that wasn't meant to be loud, but was always meant to be felt. There are moments that don't arrive with noise. No press release. No flashing cameras. No carefully crafted captions. They happen quietly. Almost as if they're not meant to be noticed at all. And yet, those are the moments that linger the longest. Today was one of those moments. While the world was busy scrolling, speculating, and assuming everyone's whereabouts, Jungkook did something so simple that it almost went unseen. Almost. He went quietly. He went without announcement. And he went with Jimin. Together they attended Mingyu and S.Coups concert today. Not as headlines, not as spectacle, but as themselves. No grand entrance. No deliberate attention. Just two people slipping into a space where music was meant to be felt, not documented. What makes this moment special isn't just the fact that they attended a concert. It's how they did it and who they chose to go with. Jungkook didn't post about it. He didn't hint at it. He didn't leave breadcrumbs for fans to follow. Instead, he moved quietly, almost protectively, as if the moment itself mattered more than the reaction it might create. And beside him, naturally, seamlessly, was Jimin. There is something profoundly telling about the way Jungkook and Jimin exist together in these unscripted moments. When the lights are off. When the stage is someone else's. When they are free to just be. They don't perform closeness. They don't exaggerate it. They don't explain it. They simply move in sync. Attending Mingyu and S.Coups concert wasn't about being seen supporting friends. It was about being present. About showing up quietly, sincerely, without turning the moment into something transactional or public-facing. Jungkook has always been someone who feels deeply but speaks selectively. And when he chooses to step out quietly rather than loudly, it's usually because the moment is personal. And Jimin? Jimin has always understood those moments without needing words. There's a softness to how they navigate shared spaces, especially when they're not the center of attention. Jungkook's natural instinct to observe, to absorb, to stay grounded. Jimin's intuitive awareness, always attuned to the emotional temperature of the room. Together they balance each other effortlessly. While the concert lights illuminated the stage for Mingyu and S.Coups, somewhere in the crowd, or just beyond it, Jungkook and Jimin stood as witnesses rather than stars. Friends first. Artists second. Battles not at all. And that distinction matters. Because when Jungkook chooses to attend something quietly, it tells us that this isn't about obligation or appearance. It's about connection, respect, shared history. And when Jimin is beside him, it adds another layer, one of trust. This wasn't a loud declaration. It wasn't a curated moment. It was a choice. A choice to go together. A choice to stay low-key. A choice to share an experience without needing validation from the outside world. In an industry where visibility is currency, invisibility, chosen invisibility, is powerful. It tells us that some bonds don't need to be proven. Some relationships don't need to be explained. Some moments are meant to be lived, not archived. Fans only realized afterward. A whisper here. A confirmation there. And suddenly the realization hit. Jungkook went. Jimin went with him. And they did it quietly. No chaos. No spectacle. Just presence. It's easy to forget that behind the stages and schedules, they are still young men who value music, friendship, and shared experiences. That they still want to stand in a crowd and feel the bass in their chest. That they still want to support people they care about without making it about themselves. And maybe that's why this moment feels so tender. Because it wasn't meant for us. It wasn't crafted to trend. It wasn't designed to spark debate. It simply happened. Jungkook, who often carries the weight of being watched, chose stillness. Jimin, who understands him better than most, chose to walk beside him. And in that quiet decision they reminded us of something important. Not everything meaningful is loud. Not everything precious is visible. And not every connection needs a spotlight to be real. Some moments are powerful precisely because they're whispered. And today, somewhere between the music, the lights, and the shared laughter of friends, Jungkook and Jimin shared one of those moments. And perhaps that is why this moment continues to echo long after the concert ended. Because silence, when chosen, speaks volumes. As the music flowed through the venue, Jungkook wasn't there as the youngest of BTS. He wasn't carrying expectations or a role to perform. For once, he was simply someone who loved music enough to disappear into it. Someone who could stand still, hands tucked away, eyes focused on the stage, letting someone else shine. And Jimin stood close, not because he needed to, but because it felt natural. There's an unspoken language between them that doesn't demand attention. A glance is enough. A slight lean. A shared smile when a song hits just right. The kind of closeness that doesn't interrupt the moment but gently lives inside it. While Mingyu and S.Coups poured their hearts into the performance, Jungkook and Jimin absorbed it, not as outsiders, but as peers who understood exactly what it takes to stand under those lights. They knew the weight behind every note, the effort behind every smile, the vulnerability behind every confident step forward. And maybe that's why they chose to come quietly. Because artists recognize other artists best when the noise fades. There's something deeply human about choosing to support friends without announcing it to the world. About showing up not for applause but for presence. About letting someone else have the moment while you stand just outside the frame. Jungkook has always been someone who protects the things that matter to him by keeping them close, and sometimes hidden. And Jimin has always been someone who understands that instinct without questioning it. So they went together. Not to be seen, but to be there. In a space filled with music, they shared something even more meaningful: ease, comfort, the quiet certainty that neither of them needed to explain anything to the other. No schedules, no choreography, no cameras dictating where to stand. Just two people who have walked through years of intensity side by side, now choosing a moment of simplicity. And it's in these unscripted choices that the truth often reveals itself. Because when Jungkook steps back from the spotlight, Jimin doesn't pull him forward. He stays with him. When the world demands visibility, they choose privacy. When everything could become content, they allow it to remain a memory that says more than any public statement ever could. Fans may dissect timelines. They may analyze angles and whispers. They may ask why it was kept so quiet. But perhaps the answer is simple. Some moments belong only to the people living them. And today, in the glow of stage lights meant for someone else, Jungkook and Jimin shared a moment that didn't need our permission, our validation, or our understanding. It existed whether we noticed or not. And now that we do, it lingers not because it was loud, but because it was real. Quietly. Intentionally. Together.